Myles Garrett is officially traded to the Los Angeles Rams, and as a Rams fan, I just wanted to come on here and and talk about the deal and how I personally think this really helps the Rams. Obviously, Myles Garrett is arguably the best player in football, but I do want to go into the Rams playoff games last year and ultimately two of the games in particular. So the Panthers game, for one, there were times, as good as I think Jared Verse is, and I'll talk about Jared Verse at some point, but in the Panthers Rams game, the game they almost lost in the first round, there were times where Bryce Young Jalen just had too much time and our corners could not cover people and they needed the pressure to get home sooner. And they had a bunch of long touchdowns and they had a bunch of long plays because Bryce Young was able to buy some time and our covers could not cover fast enough or long enough, I should say. And then in Seattle, yeah, I mean, we couldn't cover anyone. We weren't getting very much pressure whatsoever on Sam Darnold. He could make a ton of decisions and had time to make decisions. And because JSN, Cooper Kupp, people like that were getting open because we couldn't really cover people like that, ultimately that's what led to the Los Angeles Rams losing. The thing that Jared Verse is good at, right? He's good. He gets a lot of pressures on the QB. Does not get a lot of sacks. He does not finish plays a lot. Yes, he gets pressures, but people and quarterbacks are skilled enough once you get to a certain level where they can kind of avoid the first pressure and they can make a play out of it. And Jared Verse, he really wasn't a play finisher. He was he definitely caused some chaos and some pressure, but he wasn't at all necessarily a play finisher. And Myles Garrett is exactly that. He's going to get pressure faster. He's going to cause double teams. He's going to let guys like Byron Young, Braden Fisk, Kobe Turner, Poona Ford, like these type of dudes on the Rams D line that they're going to be able to eat because he's going to draw so much attention. They have to draw attention because he's arguably, again, the best player in the world. He's going to finish plays. He had 23 sacks last year. Is he going to do that again? Probably not because that's an unreal number, obviously, a record. But still, he doesn't need to have 23 sacks, even if he has 16. Like the amount of difference that makes, and even the amount of time people will have to make decisions, it's going to decrease significantly because of how good Myles Garrett is. And the Rams defense, already a solid defense last year, definitely not a bad group whatsoever, had some flaws, gets extremely better just from the Myles Garrett piece. And then if you combine this Myles Garrett piece, right, he's going to get a ton of sacks. He's a play finisher. He gets to the QB insanely quick. The QB has to make quick decisions, speeds up the QB's process, right? I haven't even mentioned the major flaw the Rams had. Yeah, sometimes they didn't really get a lot of pressure and the corners couldn't cover. The Rams just traded for Trent McDuffie. They already made a move to win now. After the Trent McDuffie deal, I was like, dude, this is perfect. I think this is exactly what the Rams needed. Like, our pass rush is decent, right? I didn't think the pass rush was necessarily a problem. I don't think it's incredible, but it's not a problem. They were 7th in sacks last year, so obviously not bad. But I was like, Trent McDuffie, the problem is we didn't have a guy who could just cover. And, when we didn't get pressure, we didn't have a guy that could, bail us out. And then we got Trent McDuffie. And I was like, wow, this team figured out the exact hole that they needed. Now you combine Trent McDuffie, an awesome corner, with Myles Garrett. So now not only do you have pressure and play finishing for Myles Garrett, which just helps corners in general, now you have Trent McDuffie who also can cover better and not get beat the same way. And they got Jalen Watson as well, who I personally really like. As your corners, like you have guys like Cam Curl, Cameron Kitchens, Quentin Lake. Like these are all solid defenders, not spectacular by any means, but solid. And this defense is just going to be amazing. They were 10th in opponents' points per game last year. Already a arguably top 10 defense last year with some glaring weaknesses. And those weaknesses have now gotten extremely better. Extremely better. The offense for the Rams was already fantastic. First in points per game, first in passing yards, 7th in rushing yards, first in touchdowns, first in yards per play. Probably the best offense in the NFL last year, if we're just being honest, and a top 10 defense. Now, this defense is, in my mind, this is top 5. This is top 5 defense, if not the best defense in the NFL. But it is a top 5 defense, and I don't know why the offense would fall off. Maybe the offense isn't first, right? Because that's hard to replicate, but it's definitely top five. Two top fives, I mean, it's tough. It's tough. You have guys like Matthew Stafford, Puka Nacua, Devontae Adams, Myles Garrett, Trent McDuffie, guys that know how to win and who are going to step up in a big time moment. I guess Garrett hasn't necessarily won a ton, but he's like the best player in the NFL, so I'm not upset with that. And the Rams, they are unbelievable. It's not guaranteed to win in the NFL, obviously not guaranteed whatsoever, but should be certainly the favorites by a good amount too, because people know how good Myles Garrett is, but I don't know if they realize how good of a fit this is for the Los Angeles Rams and how that's going to help a guy like Byron Young, who had like 12 sacks last year. That's going to help him. That's going to Braden Fisk, a guy that gets pressure and wins. Kobe Turner, a guy that wins. Poona Ford, amazing run stopper. Like, this defense is just spectacular. Spectacular. Absolutely. This is probably the most excited I've been for a Rams trade almost ever in my entire life. And probably Matthew Stafford and Myles Garrett, this is pretty close, but unbelievable. And then if we go to the Browns side, I don't hate this, honestly, for the Browns, right? You get younger. You're a retooling, rebuilding group, right? And you get a guy in Jared Verse who's top 10 in pressures every year. Yeah, I was just talking about how he's not really the best play finisher, doesn't end a lot of sacks. That doesn't mean he's a bad player. He's not a bad player whatsoever. He's actually a good player. He's a really good player. And to get him and get younger, Jared Verse young and really good, someone that will impact your defense, and he's still a valuable part to your defense, that's awesome. You get a first round pick in this. They also got a second and a third round pick in future years. That's a lot of draft capital, and the way that they will be able to retool this team and get better through this, I think, is good. Myles Garrett is 30 years old, right? So I think for the Browns and the sake of their franchise, I think this is a good move. I like the move 100%. I really do. Like, on the offensive end, you have young guys. You have Quinshon Judkins. The QB position, maybe it's a little shaky right now. You don't know what the future of that position is going to look like. Dylan Sampson is someone I really like. Harold Fannin Jr., he's someone that was really good. He's super young, too. So you have pieces. And didn't they just draft someone this year? I feel like, yeah, it was. They got Casey Concepcion. I really like him as well. So you have young pieces on offense, and now on defense, you add a Jared Verse. And with already a lot of younger, good, solid pieces, right? Not absolutely incredible. I don't think their defense is amazing by any means, but you have that Carson guy, the linebacker, that was amazing. He's super young, so you definitely have some good pieces on the defensive end. And if I'm the Browns, obviously trading arguably the best player in the NFL isn't fun. You don't love it. You get worse from this trade, but in terms of the future, I think this is something that is totally reasonable and totally valid for them to do. And also for the Rams, I think this is a spectacular move, a perfect move. And I think it's a win-win trade for both sides. I would give the Rams an A+, and I would give the Browns an A-. And that's where I would go about it. I think it's a good trade for both sides. Absolutely ecstatic. Also, something that happened I will briefly talk about because you might as well. So A.J. Brown. Let's go to the trade. Where is it? Right here. So A.J. Brown is a Patriot. We've known about this for a while, but we known it was going to happen. But here's the deal. The Patriots trade a 2028 first-round pick and a 2027 fifth-round pick. Not a crazy haul to get A.J. Brown. So for the Patriots, I think this is spectacular. You made the Super Bowl last year. You were clearly a little bit away. You add A.J. Brown. I mean, the way Kayshon Boutte looked last year, how do you think A.J. Brown's going to look? The way Matt Collins looked at times, how do you think A.J. Brown's going to look? A.J. Brown is going to be spectacular with Drake May, spectacular in this offense. I think there is going to be a huge year out of A.J. Brown. I'm predicting that now. I think he's going to be spectacular in this offense. I see the offensive line improving for the Patriots as well, and I think this move for the New England Patriots is amazing. And if you play fantasy football, something that I really enjoy, and at some point I plan on making some videos about fantasy football, but if you play fantasy football, I think this is someone that you should 100% target. I think he's going to be drafted too low. I think he should be drafted much higher than he's going to go. For the Eagles' sake, I don't necessarily hate it. Obviously, A.J. Brown had, probably some problems with the organization, and I think he wanted to go to the Patriots also. I mean, there's those clips online that you've probably seen A.J. Brown with the Patriots. I think he wanted to go there, and the Patriots wanted him. But I don't hate this. You get a first-round pick in 2028, a pick that you could add, even though the Patriots will probably be pretty good, but it could be someone that you get an additive piece to your team, and I don't hate their offense still. Like Devontae Smith is really good. I think he'll be able to show it. Another guy in fantasy football that you should 100% be targeting, but like Devontae Smith is talented enough to be a wide receiver one in my opinion, and he's going to step into that role. They just got Mekhi Lemon as well. Another, sign that they're probably going to trade A.J. Brown, getting Mekhi Lemon. I like Mekhi Lemon. He was one of my, if not my favorite receiver out of that draft class. I think I probably like Carnell Tate a bit more, but I really liked Mekhi Lemon as well. And Jalen Hurts, Saquon Barkley, like you got a lot of pieces. Don't even get me started with that defense. That defense is ridiculously talented. So for the Eagles, this is nothing to be like too overly concerned about. Still going to be a really good team. Still definitely a contender in my opinion for sure. I mean, it's going to be really hard to beat the Rams, but I would still say they're a contender. And again, I think this is another win-win trade. Like I think the Patriots win much more than the Eagles. I would give the Eagles about a B, and I would give the Patriots an A. But like, I don't think this is bad for the Eagles by any means. They're still insanely talented, and yeah, OBJ also signed with the Giants. That's really cool. I'm happy for him. OBJ is one of my favorite players, favorite receivers of all time, and seeing him go back to the Giants and probably I assume finish his career with the Giants. That's super cool. I love watching OBJ play football, and I'm super excited about that, especially on a Giants team that I'm really optimistic about as well. So that should be really fun. But yeah, that's going to do it. Crazy day in the NFL. As a Rams fan, I am absolutely ecstatic. And yeah, that's going to do it. Deuces.